Hey, it's Micah Thompson here with my Module 3 discussion-based assessment for government. Today we're going to be talking about political parties and voting. So we're going to get right into it. We're going to start off with why U.S. political parties were formed. So after the Constitution was ratified, disagreements arose over how strong the federal government should be. There were two groups that had differing opinions on it. There was the Federalists and the Democratic Republicans. The Federalists were proponents of a strong national government. They wanted a national bank, close ties with Great Britain, and the Democratic Republicans wanted strong state governments, limited power, and closer ties with France as opposed to Great Britain. So those were the first two kind of political parties. There were ways to organize different groups of people with the same like political ideology, and that's the main purpose of political parties. It's to organize political action and elections and help voters identify which candidates represent their viewpoints. Today, political parties, there's a big two of them: the Republicans and the Democrats. They have big roles in the modern United States. They coordinate election campaigns, they fundraise, they support their candidates, which they choose through primary elections, and they serve as a bridge between the government and regular citizens. Second, we have party or political parties in the government versus political parties in the electorate. So in the government, parties in the government include elected officials that can be president, Congress, even state governors who legislate and they make laws and govern. An example of this could be, Congress, Republican congressmen making federal laws about traffic speed or something. And in the electorate, party members are, registered from the general population, and they constantly support one party. They influence the party's direction through participating in the primaries, which is like selecting the candidate for elections, and voting. So party in government, they make the decisions, and then party in the electorate helps choose who governs. Basically, they help put those people in the political parties in the government. So, yeah. Moving on again. So, we're going to talk about some of the problems and benefits of a divided government. So, a divided government occurs when one party controls the presidency and another controls Congress. I think the last time this happened was, I want to say, during Biden's presidency, but I could be wrong. Anyways, yeah, so it happens sometimes. It has some benefits and downsides. Some of these benefits are it encourages compromise between two political parties, and prevents one side from pushing in like extreme policies to their viewpoint. It kind of acts as a check and balance because in a divided government, you're not going to have one group holding all the political power and being able to push through whatever you want. Yeah. There are some problems though. It can lead to political gridlock, where there's a lot of pushback between both sides and nothing really gets done. Example from this year, they can sometimes lead to government shutdowns or delayed budgets. So it can be good, but it can also be bad. Moving on to state voter registration methods. So some of the similarities across states, because there's voter registration varies from state to state. It's completely different. Is universal to all. You must be a U.S. citizen and meet age requirements, and you must live in the state that you're voting in. And options include like across the board, online, in person, or mail registration. Some of the differences between states: some states have automatic registration where they automatically register voters when they get a driver's license. An example of this is, for my research that I did preparing for this, is Oregon. They automatically uh, register voters when they get a driver's license, which is different because a state like Idaho doesn't do that. Um, some states, they have same day registration where, you can go into an election, register, and then just vote. Some states don't have that, so you have to register well beforehand. And uh, in Idaho, you do have to register beforehand. So I turned 18 recently, so I registered to vote. Um, but I had to do that. I couldn't just go up to the day of an election and go vote. So yeah, and piggybacking off what I just said, there's some deadlines to that. So like in Idaho, not in Idaho. Sorry, I don't know what I'm talking about. Uh, let me let me get back on track. Oh yeah, deadlines. They differ from state to state. They can be anywhere from 15 days to 30 days, but that's different from same day registration. So um, you know, there are some impacts to all these different rules. Like strict registration rules can create barriers to people voting and lead to low voter turnouts. And, it just goes, it's just logically speaking that states with easier registration methods, they usually see a higher voter turnout. Let's go into some of the reasons for low voter turnout, which happens pretty frequently in the U.S. Some of the common factors are, difficulties registering, or, you just forget. Sometimes it's too complicated, you don't have enough time, especially among young people. Um, it's rough when, they may not view it as important. It's a kind of a lengthy process. I have a lot going on in my life, so I had to consciously like set some time aside to register to vote when I did. So, you know, um, there's a lot of elections, and that can cause kind of voter fatigue where you don't necessarily want to vote because there's been 1,000 other elections. Not really 1,000, but you get my point. Um, and why would you vote again in an election that you don't really care about? Another one, I see this quite frequently where I live, is distrust in politicians, and the belief that your vote doesn't matter. Um, I live in a very conservative county, and I have some liberal friends, or people who don't necessarily vote Republican, and uh, oftentimes they don't really go out and vote. It's just some of my older friends. They don't go out and vote because they don't think it matters. Um, so they just go to the polls. There's also sometimes a lack of education on candidates or issues. It's kind of sensationalized a lot of times. People don't research issues, so they don't know, they don't feel it's important to vote because they don't know about the issues or anything that's going on. Some solutions that I've kind of thought of. I'm a strong proponent of like same day and online registration because registering online is super easy and accessible for everyone with the internet. And if not, then same day you can just go in there, register, and then vote. It's simple, straightforward. You can do it all in one place. Um, Another idea I had was maybe we could make election day a national holiday. Give everyone off work and then be like, go vote. Just a thought. Okay, and then moving on to my sixth topic. So there's different campaign methods in primary versus general elections. Remember, primary elections are the elections inside a party to secure a nomination for the general election, which is the overall, like, Donald Trump won the Republican primary, so he went to the general election and got elected. So there's just two different things. But they have different goals. So the primary's goal is to win support from its own party members. They focus on appealing to the established base. So Donald Trump, during the primary, focused on appealing to his base that he already had, which was the Make America Great Again movement, and they emphasized their ideological positions. In the general elections, they're trying to appeal to a broad electorate. Um, they kind of moderate out a little bit. During the primaries, they're a bit like entrenched in party things, but during the general, they need to apply to swing voters and people who aren't necessarily like diehard supporters of a party or person. So yeah, this is to attract like independent and swing voters. The main difference between these two things is how the strategy shifts. They're trying to in the primary they're trying to energize the party base. In the general, they're trying to win over these voters that don't necessarily vote for a certain political party every election. Okay, that is about it. Thank you for your time. I really appreciate it. Have a good one.